Hello everybody, welcome to another Valheim video. As you can see, today we're going to learn how you can adjust the already existing locations in Valheim to show up in another biome procedurally across the entire world. What you're seeing here is part of the Enigma project, which is going to be available to the public soon. But I won't be on about that in this video. Let's focus on getting locations to show up in a new biome. You'll need to use expand world data to set this up and do it for the first time. And I'll give you some reassurance now, because this is even easier than EWP scripts. You only need to change a little file once with some easy to understand parameters, and then the whole world will just generate differently every time you do it. So let's take a look at one of these entries so that you can get more comfortable with this. Here we can see an entry for Tower Ruins here. We have the label. It's always good to label each entry just for your own sanity. And then we have the actual location name. In this case, it's Charred Ruins 2. And then underneath that, we have all of these different parameters. And the ones you see here are actually only a few of them. There's loads. But you only need to use what you need to use. And there's a lot more that's possible than what I'm going to go over in this video. Today I want to just focus on the basics to make sure that you know how to get one location from one biome to start showing up in another biome. The first thing that you need to understand is that the process changes a little bit depending on if you're making the world after you make these changes, or if you're adding the changes to an existing world. For simplicity's sake, I'm going to show you how to do it on a new world to get you started. What you can see here isn't just one location entry, it's like 6 or 7 of the locations from the Ashlands put in the mountains with a limit on the height so that they don't show up on Little Mountain. As we can see here, this mountain is pretty small, so it just has a couple of the ruins. And then this one over here is too small for anything, so it's just a normal mountain. But then, if the player goes to a really large, particularly flat mountain, they essentially find these vast ruined areas that occasionally have a charred fortress, and still have the normal stuff of the mountain, such as frost caves, silver, and other things. One quick word of caution. What I'm showing you in the video is overdone, and that's just to show you the point. You can get something to spawn filling up an area, right? But really, you wouldn't want to do it this extensively. You would want it to be about half of this in practice, because you don't add variety if you fully replace the biome. You only add variety if you replace some of the biome that's there. Make sense? But without further ado, let's actually get into this script and see what you need to know. We can see here one entry as we saw earlier. It's the prefab, which is the name of the location. And conveniently, you can use the database that Jotun provides. It's a list of all of the current locations in Valheim, which is important because you'll need to get their names correct for them to work properly. You can just scroll down this list and find anything you've ever seen in the game, and then get the name for it, and then put it somewhere else. Here's a closer look at some of the things we're working with, the Charred Ruins. This way, you can find any location that you have seen before, and get the name. That's how you handle this part. Everything else is a parameter that you'll use depending on the situation. The most important ones are what biome it shows up in, the quantity, and also another one that's not here right now called prioritized true. This increases the chance that it shows up because other things will get pushed away, so to speak, and this will spawn instead. And it's quite normal to start messing with this and nothing spawns. And it's not because it's broken, it's because you didn't have a parameter right, so the situation to spawn never occurred. Because this is actually just one entry. When you first launch the mod, it's going to generate all of these files. And when you open them, they're going to have the default vanilla entries for that version of Valheim that you're running for that point in time. Here you can see that these have labels. That's because these are extra ones. I like to separate the extra ones that I'm adding away from the vanilla ones. That way, if I make a mistake, it's really easy to get rid of it without adjusting the basic generation too much. If we keep scrolling up, we can see here I have extra goblin towers, I have extra road posts with some verdure, some vultures, some log cabins, etc. But these are all labeled, these are additional. When you first launch the file, it's gonna look something like this. It'll just be unlabeled entries. Just look for this little dash and then the prefab part. It's a lot easier to do this. That way you know where you are and what you're working with. But if you look through this list, you'll be able to find the default entries for everything in the vanilla game. And that's what makes this easier than EWP scripting. When you EWP script, you have to sort of make things yourself or copy them from other people. Whereas when you edit the expand locations YAML, you just kind of change what's already there or copy paste what's already there and make a new entry. For example, let's say I want vulture nests to start showing up occasionally throughout the world in different places. I would start by finding out what the name of the location I'm looking for is. All I know is it's something vulture, right? So it happens to be easy to find, and it's vulture nest. Okay, so now I have the name of the location I'm targeting. And then we can search in the expand locations YAML for this location. And now let's separate it just for a moment so it's easy to see. And we can see that the vulture nest here is what generates in the ashlands by default. But I'm not trying to mess with the vulture nests in the ashlands. I'm trying to put some vulture nests in the plains and the mountains, right? So what I'm gonna do is take this entry and copy it. Scroll to the bottom, and then we're going to make a new spot called extra locations. As I mentioned, I like to separate it. And now we're gonna paste our entry from before, but the main thing is we don't want it to spawn in the ashlands, we want it to spawn in the mountain. Not mountains, mountain, that's important. And we don't want anywhere near 350, that's too many, so let's go with something smaller. We're gonna go with like 100. Remember, it's up to this many, not necessarily all of them. Here we have the minimum altitude and the minimum distance from similar. The altitude is in meters, and what you need to know is that in Valheim, sea level is 30 meters. So you see that sand there, that line, that clearly defined line before the plains grass? That's approximately 30 meters-ish. Maybe it's like 29 or something. So, that being said, I want these vulture nests to show up higher, not on coasts, more in deeper terrain areas. So we're going to make it so that it is around 50 or 20 meters above sea level. Additionally, I want to make sure that there's only one of these every now and then. I'm not trying to have there be a bunch of vultures everywhere so the plains doesn't feel like the plains anymore. I just want to make occasional surprises to throw people off guard and make them question whether they can actually predict everything that's going to happen on their next adventure. And this distance is in meters. Each zone is 64 meters. So we're gonna go with 640 meters, which is a significant distance, meaning the player won't really see these next to each other. This is how you can control where the generation is going to place these locations. Now, if we were to just move forward at this point, it might not work. And that's because there's some pickiness here that we want to get rid of. You see all this stuff? There's this max terrain delta, the forest threshold, max vegetation. Just get rid of all of this. Get rid of the forest threshold, the vegetation stuff, and the terrain delta. When you first start trying, just keep it simple and use as few parameters as possible. You're gonna have to adjust this multiple times to get it to the point that you want, but this is how you do it. Keep it simple and then iterate each time that you see what the change you just made does, okay? And if it's still not showing up, you might want to try prioritized true. And that's pretty much all there is to it. Once you have that file saved, then if that client generates a new world, it's going to be like you've seen here, full of all sorts of different nonsense, but still Valheim. Now, to get the file that you adjust, you need to install Expand World Data and its dependencies. And the easiest way to do that is to use R2Modman, which allows you to just set up a custom profile, and then you can just have multiple profiles for what you're doing, and you can look at this online section and then just search for whatever mod you want. In this case, we would look for Expand World Data and download it, and then it would also install all of the dependencies. This is what you'd do if you're doing this on your own computer in single player, and you're not managing it for someone else. You can just use R2, install Expand World Data, and then launch Valheim, and importantly, create at least one world. Okay, the moment you create the world, that's gonna make this file with all of the locations show up. But now the big question, where is the file exactly? Well, don't fret. Its location changes depending on the situation, but I'm gonna assume you're using R2Modman. What you're gonna do is go into the profile that you're using in R2Modman, and then go to Settings and Browse Profile Folder. This is going to open up the correct location of the BepInEx installation that you're looking for. You'll find the file that you want within the Config and then Expand World section. There you'll see that I have this Expand Locations YAML that we're working on. I highly recommend using some kind of development environment. I'm using Sublime, but you could use Visual Studio or anything else that you prefer, like Atom. Just because it's a lot easier to work with these things when you can change the colors. I personally like this one a lot. It's called Makefile in Sublime Text. And it just makes it easier to notice when you make a mistake. And that's all there is to it. Once you've edited that file, after launching a world with Expand World Data installed at least once, then you can make changes to that file and save it. At that point, when you generate a new world and enter it, look what we have here. We have a vulture nest showing up in the plains. But the fun doesn't end there, does it? You need to be able to find these locations. You'll need to use Upgrade World so that you can use locations, list, and then the name, in this case, vulture nest. And then we're gonna look for one in the mountain this time, right? We get a whole list, and then we're gonna go to 2.8, and this should take us directly on top of a mountain. So here we go, we have our vulture nest that showed up in the mountain, as you can see. And I'm not saying these are all the best decisions. I'm just showing you that you can actually get locations from one biome to show up procedurally in another biome. And this is exactly how it's done. I just showed you how to do this for a new world that you haven't made yet. But probably you want to do this on a world that already exists. And don't worry, that's completely possible. We'll need to use the same mod that I used earlier, Upgrade World. This mod gives you a bunch of different commands that allow you to adjust and look at the locations that were spawned. You can also add locations to the registry. And you're going to use the locations add command, all right? This will repeat the process that normally happens on world creation, but just for the locations that you specify. So in our case, we would go vulture nest and then force start, okay? Boom. It would do that, and then it will pause for a little bit as it's adding things, right? And it said, okay, we added 350 vulture nests to the world. And this is a little bit misleading because it hasn't actually added them to the world in the way that you're thinking. They're not there yet. They're just registered. They've been added to the location registry. So now we could go locations, list, and then vulture nest, and then we get all the different vulture nests all over the world, In this case, it's showing us just the ones in the Ashlands, because there's more than one screen. And you would essentially just do this for each location that you're trying to add to the game. And I'll finish with a friendly reminder that you should definitely use copies of your world to practice this first. But don't let that dissuade you. This kind of work is incredibly fulfilling and fun. Valheim is an absolutely incredible game with a lot of beautiful assets that are just screaming to be repurposed and used in different ways. So now you are free to put things in different places and see how it feels. Now that you know how to place locations procedurally across your entire Valheim world in a new place. What would you like to move around? Tell me in the comments below, because I love hearing about people's ideas, and I'll totally take your idea if it's really good. Thanks in advance. Alternatively, if you want to support my work, consider renting your own dedicated Valheim server so that you can do all of this kind of stuff and then invite your vanilla client friends over onto your world and dazzle their minds that their Valheim experience is different, but they didn't install a single mod. Just look in the description of my video for my link to Zap Hosting/JP Valheim. Zap Hosting is a wonderful game service website that has a lot of other servers, not just Valheim. So if you do get tired of Valheim, you can just switch to the other game that you're playing. They probably have it if it's a popular option. But for me personally, that never happened. Once I got a Valheim server and got into scripting, everything else was history. There's no need to play any other game ever again, so to speak. I found endless satisfaction. And that's what's so motivating about sharing this content with you. I really believe that people, once they realize what's possible with Expand World Prefabs and some of Yair's other tools, they're going to create a whole new kind of Valheim that I can't even imagine. And I can't wait for it to happen, although I'm pretty patient, so it might take a couple years. Who knows, maybe it's one of you listening to this video right now. And don't get me wrong, I'd love it if you buy a server, but you don't have to get a server. You can do all of this kind of stuff on single player. I just don't want to dissuade you. Like really, there's nothing stopping you from practicing scripting. There's nothing stopping you from practicing EWP scripting and this kind of Valheim world building. Just follow your heart. If you want to create something different, just try it. See if you can make that thing a reality. And who knows, maybe from there, it'll grow and become something even bigger than anything you could ever have imagined or done alone.